Hello, friends and family, and welcome to the Cave Talk. Too often we see top-level talent rise to the occasion and wonder what that person has done to become the best. We hear about their achievements and what they've accomplished. However, what we don't hear about are the experiences they go through and the habits they've created to get there. Join me, along with my co-host Malik Amin, as we sit down with next-level individuals to hear how they achieve success, conquer their defeats, and the experiences they've encountered along the way. Resilience, grit, and authenticity, you're sure to learn what it takes to become the best version of yourself.
The Cave Talk.
What's going on, friends and family? Today's episode is sponsored by Constant Pressure Sports. CP Sports is taking the wrestling apparel industry by storm and is becoming a serious contender with the announcement of signing NCAA champions Seth Gross, Kyvan Gatson, and Lee Kemp as their official sponsored athletes. Let CP Clothing take care of your team apparel needs today and visit them at www.cp.clothing or follow them on Instagram at CP_gear to get a free design quote for your team apparel needs. CP Sports, baby. Hello, friends and family. Thank you for tuning in to episode 4 of the Cave Talk. Super excited right now. Can't stop smiling. We have a big guest today for episode 4 joining us. His name speaks for itself. He has too many accolades for me to go through right now. Take up the whole podcast. Jordan Burroughs, thank you for stepping in and sharing some time with us today.
Yeah, we appreciate you, gentlemen. Thanks for the invitation.
Of course. Jordan, to get us kicked off here, wrestling is something that you talk about all the time. You have millions of interviews, millions of podcasts. I'm sure people know about your wrestling background, but I think that something, for me at least, and I can speak for a lot of other people, what we don't know about is the upbringing and kind of what got your first taste for wrestling, where you decided to say, okay, this is something that I'm going to commit to, and just the process of becoming who you are and building your brand. But let's go back to the beginning. When was it that you decided to step on the mat and say, hey, I'm gonna try this sport wrestling out?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I started when I was 6. Basically, I just brought home a flyer from our local elementary school, like, hey, join the wrestling program. It was the Edgewood Eagles was the name of my program. And so I was a small guy. I was the youngest of 4. I was the runt of my family, but I was always super competitive when I was a kid. So I remember bringing home the flyer to my parents, like, hey, Mom, can I join the wrestling team? And she's like, sure. My mom actually dated a wrestler in high school, interestingly enough. But neither one of my parents ever played organized sports. But my dad was a big football fan, right? So growing up in South Jersey, we went to Eagles games, Phillies games, Flyers games. That was just kind of the market that we were in. And so we were big sports fans. And my dad was like, sure, I'll take you to practice Thursday night. We'll check it out. And so even though I was small, I was pretty scrappy. Like, that was always my thing. I was a scrappy little cat. And when he took me to my first tournament, I won a participation trophy. So I didn't even place. I went like 1-1, got a participation trophy though. And it was like the first thing I had ever won on my own. And so I'm like, yo, this is sick. Like, I get a trophy every tournament I go to. And so I remember taking that trophy home, showing my mom, like, this is so cool, put it up on my mantelpiece at the crib. And then that was kind of it. I got hooked. And so before every tournament, my dad would take me to the trophy room and whatever high school was being hosted. And he'd be like, hey, you see that trophy right there, the tallest one? That's the one you get if you win all your matches today. And so that was the one that I was always shooting every week. That was our thing, right? We'd go to the tournament. He'd show me the trophies, and then we go look at the bracket, and then I just grind throughout the day.
You're chasing that gold medal from the very beginning.
Oh, right, I see his goal, man.
But it was just a fun sport, right? You got to travel. We were going to like Eastern Nationals and Mawas and all this crazy stuff, but we got to stay in hotels and eat pizza and like get cool warm-ups and all this stuff, buy singlets and wrestling shoes and the little trading cards and stands at tournaments. It was just a fun time. You know, when you're a kid, you just do it.
You're just doing it. Right. Yeah.
Go for it. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try to win. And so it was
fun. Growing up wrestling, who was it that was like, because I guess for us, I mean, it was a little bit of you and a little bit of Dan Gable,
that's
obviously.
That's how I'm old, right? You saying growing up,
man, like JB, man.
growing up.
My guy.
But who was like your the wrestler that you looked at, like, oh damn, I want to get to his level. That's who I want to become as a wrestler.
Yeah, I did an interview a couple weeks ago with Greg Jones.
Uh-huh.
Greg Jones, he's a 3-time NCAA champ at West Virginia, 74, 84 pounder, but he was the guy coming up. He was one of the few black guys at the time that was actually like on point and achieving success and, you know, in the public spotlight. So he was the guy that I watched, because this was before social, right? You couldn't just hop on Twitter and TikTok and IG and follow your favorite athletes. Basically, it was just USA Wrestling Magazine and Win Magazine. And so he was the guy that I would see. And the only time you watch wrestling was at the NCAA championships on ESPN once a year.
Right.
He was the first guy that I looked up to. And obviously, I remember watching Kale when I was a kid. When Kale won his fourth title, I was in 8th grade. And so I remember watching that, and I was like, damn, like this guy, he never lost a match in college. And that was a cool moment. And obviously, right, us getting to college and going through the college, Brian, like, can you imagine not losing a match?
Yeah, right.
4 years, that's insanity.
Right, especially when you get to college and you do start wrestling in those grueling schedules, and then you start to really realize, like, damn, he didn't lose a match.
I lost my very first college match. I lost my very first match ever, so I had no chance.
Yeah,
right. That dream's over. Right?
Yeah,
right.
It makes you appreciate freestyle. Honestly, college wrestling literally makes you appreciate freestyle. You're like, man, all you don't have to do 20-minute goes, like none of that stuff.
You guys, Brian, when you get to the freestyle level, it's a lot more about sharpening and refining.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you see it.
Yeah.
You got, the Cliff King Wrestling Club there. So
I gotta listen to Sergey.
When I'm watching the college guys, and they're right, you got class in the morning, then you got to lift right after. You go into a meeting, and then you got a tutoring, and then you're coming back to practice in the afternoon, and you got to go to a lab in the evening and study hall. I'm like, this is madness.
Right.
Madness. So you guys grind, bro. I commend for what you guys have done and gone through. But anyone who's gone through 5 years of college, it's a relief when you finally get to the senior level.
Yeah, I know, man. You're bringing up dark memories, man. I'm trying to close that chapter. No, but I agree 100%. It's like Sergey. When Sergey tells us, he's like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you doing that? Why are you going so crazy? Like, it just took such a long time to adjust. Finally, just like it's way different over there. Like, I know you've been over there a million times just for training camps and wrestling. The difference between Russia and the US and how they train, it's like everything is about technique. Everything.
Has he rubbed off on Bourmet at all? Like in regard to Sergey?
Sergey? I think so a little bit. I think Sean's got everything figured out, and I think you have to train a certain way for folks. I know you agree with me. It's just harder. I mean, you have to worry about getting out from bottom. You have to worry about holding the guy down. You don't really have to worry about that in freestyle. I mean, it's just more grueling. I think there definitely should be a lot more technical emphasis and folk style wrestling. I mean, a lot of it's grinding, but I think Sergey definitely has rubbed off on Sean. I think so. There's some things he does not agree with Sergey. Sergey's like, okay, one match and then we go home. Sean's like, I don't think that's how it's going to work.
He's definitely rubbed off on the program because Cliff King has 2 Olympians.
Yeah, have you met Sergey?
I have occasionally.
He's a funny dude, man.
Chatted with him, but
he's a funny dude.
He's got a lot of funny stories from what I've heard. I mean, I haven't dealt with him on a personal level.
You got to come up to Ann Arbor, man, and train.
I got a chance to. I know Kellen well, wrestled Kellen a bunch of times, trained together back when he was competing.
Yeah.
Then Logan Massa actually came down.
Yeah, you and Logan trained. I remember he told me. And Pantelio, right, too? And Alec?
I rolled around with Pantelio. Is he still at Michigan?
Yeah, he's still at Michigan. Still doing double legs, man. Doing all that stuff, backflips, all the crazy stuff.
Backflips and double legs.
Yeah.
You guys have done a great job, man. When I was a kid, there were only 2 places that I wanted to go to school. It was Penn State and Michigan. Were the 2 places.
They should have got you, man. They made a big mistake.
Listen, I was only one-time state champ. I didn't win it till my senior year, so I wasn't like a big-time recruit anyway. So they probably didn't even want me. But I wanted to go to Michigan because I always wanted to go to football games at the Big House, right? I was a big fan of Brian Greasy and Charles Wood and all those guys when I was growing up, and so I was like, damn, I want to go to Michigan. You guys do a good job.
Did they not recruit you?
They didn't know. I was not.
But in Jersey, though, one-time state champion. Jersey's one division. Was it one division back then too?
That's true, but I didn't get it to my senior year. By the time you're a senior, most scholarships are already given.
That's true. I agree with you.
Competing as sophomores, and so it's like all that scholarship money is already taken out.
Hey man, it all worked out though.
Yeah, it's good.
Yes, I
can't complain.
Life's good.
You mentioned having like somebody that was a black male figure for you to look up in the sport of wrestling, look up to, and then you've become that for so many young individuals, not even black or white, doesn't matter what color, but especially for black men. I know Kevon Davenport's one of them. Kevon's super close to the Amin family.
That's Summit Grounds. Malik, did you go to DCC?
That's my guy, man. Kevon, Josh Edmond, all those kids, man. They crack me up. He's a trip, man. He's got energy like nobody I know. He's the biggest hype man.
Still, bro. Every time I'm telling you, we were making fun of him this year. I'm like, why are you on Flow Wrestling so much? You're not even in
He's the biggest hype man.
I love Kevon, man.
Never in a singlet. Always just getting people hyped on the
That's how everyone got to be, though, man.
He's a good promoter for the sport of wrestling, and he's an even better person than he is a wrestler, which is the most important aspect of it.
He's a good kid. Man.
He is. But growing up, were there times where it was difficult for you to get through some of the social injustice that was like, when was it, I guess, at what age did you start to realize all the like the social injustice growing up, that it was actually an issue? Because as a young kid, it's difficult to realize that, but then you start to grow up and you do.
That's a good question. You know what? Like, I wanted to quit wrestling and play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my area, when I went to high school, most of our team was predominantly black. Like, but when I was young, coming up through elementary school, middle school, right, where it's like we didn't have like a modified program, so you had to wrestle like on the side. You didn't wrestle at school. So none of my buddies that I went to school with wrestled. So I wanted to quit because I was like, all my friends are playing ball, like, and I know these kids. These are my boys. These are who I'm hanging out with every single day. Like, I want to be with them. And so I had to go and learn to like kind of move differently in different kind of cultures, right? It was when I on the weekends I was with all my white friends. We were at wrestling tournaments, and we were going to wrestling practice. And then during the week, I was at school with all my black friends. We were hanging out, playing basketball at the crib, football on the street. And so it was like really learning how to balance and be like a social chameleon. But it was good, man. I think it was beneficial for me because I learned how to move in different circles. Mm-hmm. But it was different. I didn't really experience a ton of injustice because I was kind of incubated from that. Because when I got to high school, I had a predominantly black team. Even though our coach Rick Haas, he was a white guy, but he was hip. You know what I mean? Like, he knew how to connect with black guy. It was never like this kind of disconnect where he was like, hey, what are you guys listening to? What is this rap music crap? You know what I mean? It was more so, hey, I understand this is what you guys listen to. This is what you like to wear. This is what you like to dress. And so there was always this sense of respect that he operated with for us. And so it was easy to wrestle for him. And it was good, man. It was good. Life was good. I couldn't complain at that time. I
feel that.
Obviously today, especially in 2020, but I think this was a big buildup throughout the years. 2020 is just when the nail hit the head. What's like some plan of action? I know with the BWA, that's something that probably by the time this podcast is released, the news will come out that that's what you're going to be one of the guys on the board there. But
yeah,
what actions do you believe need to be taken? And specifically, I'm going to speak I know that this is a worldwide problem. I'm going to speak to the sport of wrestling right now because it's pouring into the sport, right? Yeah. What actions like have you decided that need to be taken? And you have a huge platform, right? I mean, if you add up all the amount of following base you have over all your platforms, it's going to be over 1 million people. So how does somebody like you with that big of a platform strategically sit down and say, here's what we need to do in order for me to use my platform to shed some positive light on this issue?
That's a good question. You know what? Like, I still am educating myself throughout this process. Like, it's easy to be like, oh, you're black, so you know these experiences, and you're white, so you need to listen. Right. But for me, even as a black man, there are a lot of people who have gone through much more than I have.
Yeah.
So I have taken this time to really learn. I've been watching a lot of videos and movies and taking time to interact with friends and really just sitting back and listening. Because it's easy, like when you're in this position, everyone expects you to have a stance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, JB, what are you thinking? What do you think? What's
Right.
going on? So everything that comes up, right? What do you think about flow? Not having
Yeah, because you built
You're
yourself
like,
into
I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't really thought about it.
Give me a second.
Yeah, well,
to, like,
people don't-
actually, like,
They always come
damn,
to you.
bro.
Some
man.
people don't realize
First.
that you're because you've built such a brand for yourself and created such an opportunity from the sport of wrestling. Now you're known worldwide, regardless of people haven't. My wife was talking to somebody and she was mentioning that we were going to be interviewing with you today, or doing a podcast with you, and they don't know anything about wrestling, but they knew who you were. So it's like, regardless of wrestling, people know who you are. So I feel like it kind of dehumanizes you because you're like seen as just this icon in the sport of wrestling and worldwide. And it's like, well, exactly what you said. Let me think for a second. Let me get educated before I speak.
For sure. Well, the difficult thing about that is, everything that you post or you put out into the world, the things that you project aren't always going to be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There are going to be a lot of things that you put out that there's going to have to be like aggressive opposition to.
Right.
And I want to make sure that I'm speaking from a knowledgeable perspective before I just like speak off the cuff about crazy and get myself into trouble.
Right.
But like in this position we're in now, athletes and celebrities have become the most influential people in society.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's listening to the teachers and the politicians. It's more so athletes and celebrities. Everyone wants to.
Man.
But I always try to speak from an educated position. And there's certain things I just don't want to address, bro. Like whether it's out of ignorance or I just kind of keep to myself. Because every time you have a position or stance, you don't always have to make it public.
Right.
No.
That's where everyone's like super aggressive. Like, hey, you got to say something. You need to say something. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't.
Yeah. You don't have to.
Right.
It's like Michael Jordan, man. Michael Jordan is like, man, why do I have to say something, man? I'm just here to play ball.
That's it. And so I think that there is a responsibility for you to speak for the people that you represent, but on your own accord. You don't have to feel pressure or expectation to do it unless you really want to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel that for sure.
Well,
I definitely see a little bit of it. I definitely with Flow Wrestling, but other media organizations, I think they're doing a better job now with a little bit of pressure on them. But you see like how much change has already happened. I mean, I think with women's wrestling too, everyone's speaking up. I think it's almost just it's coming together. You don't really have to have an opinion, but being able to put a little bit of support behind it is one thing. Like you're saying, you don't really have to have an opinion, but we know you support the right things, you know? So it's not like you have to come out and make a statement. Is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's certain things that people are doing behind the scenes too. Right?
Exactly, man. It doesn't always have to be a spotlight.
If I know you and I know the way you operate personally, then it doesn't really matter what you tweet or what you IG. Because I know who you are. Like I interact with you guys. So I'm like, okay, this dude's a good dude. I know how he treats me. I know how he treats his family. He's a good husband, right? He's always equitable. So I don't have to like wait for a tweet like, yo, Jordan Malik, why haven't you tweeted yet? Still waiting for a tweet.
Right.
Hello, what's going on? You know, I'm like, I've seen these guys. I know what they're doing behind the scenes. So it's not that important for me.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that's where the real work is done too. That's where like the true, you can unravel the true person because we're doing things behind closed doors where it's not, no one's seeing it. Right. And if you're doing the right things where it's like training, it's like no, everyone sees Jordan Burroughs win a gold medal, but they don't see the hours and hours and hours of training that he had and bad practices and good practices that go into it.
Right. It's like the new, like sending prayers, right?
Right.
Like when bad happens to someone, so I'm like, oh, sending prayers.
Are you?
So kind of just
Are
like
you really?
Yeah, it's kind of like the thing. Like you just say it, you just mention it to know.
Empty gesture.
I've seen it, right? It's a political gesture, so you can understand that I was thinking about you, but now I move on and I digress. So I'm trying to actually like
constantly do it.
Well, the problem is there's a lot of sheep. Everyone wants to follow just what everyone else is doing, just because they don't want to be the one that's like standing out a little bit.
They don't want to. They don't want to go against the grain. It's okay. It's different. Like here's the thing. Like I know I'm trying to get a little bit off topic, but
no, you're good.
But I'm serious. Like once one person does it, it's easy for everybody to fall down. But that first person to speak up is, because it could also go the other way. Because look at like Pat Downey, man. Like he said that now he's like had no tweets, no nothing. Like it's totally silent.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, his situation's unique, but yeah.
No.
I mean, relating to what we're talking about, it is completely, like you said, just sending prayers. I mean, you got to be doing like you said, staying educated and doing the right things that are going to actually make an impact, not just, post a tweet and then that's it. And then that's how you support it, right? What are you doing behind the scenes?
For sure.
going through this is sort of like a hardship that wrestlers are facing, and not just wrestlers, the rest of the world. But you've done a really good job with handling hardships, and have really influenced people to show you how you should react when things don't go your way. I know that when I was wrestling at Michigan, there is we did like a team retreat. We went camping, and we went.
That was tough.
We were sitting by a bonfire, and Bormat and McFarland had us all go around a circle and share like a quote that resonates with them. And there was an article on Yahoo Sports, like in 2016, after you had lost in Rio, and it was and people that don't know, Jordan was the defending the favorite Olympic champ from the previous Olympics, and then comes in and doesn't get the results he wants in Rio. And then he has a really good response to it. So they did an article on Yahoo Sports. They did it all over, but one of the ones I was reading was Yahoo Sports. And your wife actually shared a quote that the person that wrote the article talked about. And that was a quote that I shared at the retreat. And it was, don't get so enraptured in each tree that you forget the magnificence of the forest. And it was super like, that was like the point in my like the turning point in my life where I was like, damn, it's not just about this one thing. Like there's so much more that's going to be happening on like in like the forest that I'm creating of my life. So it's like, what went through your head when you put all those hours in, you sacrificed so much, and your family sacrificed so much for you to chase your dreams, and then you accomplish them in 2012 and you get to 2016 and you fall short, but you still continue to have like a positive response to that devastating loss?
Yeah, it was tough, bro. I'm not gonna front. Like it was a very difficult thing to overcome.
Right.
More mentally than anything.
Right.
It's like you carry like this bravado, this sense of invincibility. You know how it is.
Yeah.
You're the champ. Everybody calls you the champ. Everywhere you go, you're recognized. People kind of put you on this pedestal, and then when you get beat, and your identity now is not tied to your competition because you competed like crap, and so you're trying to feel strongly about yourself while people are looking at you as like this charity case. So typically it's like, damn, that was an awesome performance, so good, man, congratulations, you're the man. And then it went to, dude, what happened? What was wrong with you? What's going on? And so that was something that was difficult transition for me. And so like I paralleled two stories. So in 2012, after I won the Olympics in London, I flew straight on a flight from London to LAX to be on the Jay Leno show. When we landed and touched down at the terminal in LAX, there were a bunch of reporters and cameramen waiting there. I have a gold medal in my pocket. So they're all looking at, oh, Olympians returning. We got balloons and streamers and all sorts of signs. And so they're like, hey, this guy over here, he's Olympian. He actually won a gold medal. So I pulled the medal out of my pocket. All the cameras just flocked to me. Everyone's excited. Right, I'm on the Jay Leno show on primetime television showing off the medal. Was awesome. So anyway, fast forward to 2016, when I got beat, I flew back from Rio to Lincoln, and there was no one at the airport waiting for me. Man. And I didn't even have my car there. I had to take a taxi home alone. So it was just like a very big contrast in terms of being a champion and being a person who failed to win. And so for me, immediately after, I had to really start to figure out how I could rebuild. The hardest part about coming back was being with the amount or really around wrestlers and my friends and family, like, and people, that regarded me as, this champion. And so I was embarrassed. Like I was humiliated. When you do something, when someone finds out about it and you kind of like the dog with his legs and you're like, super ashamed.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I felt everywhere I went. I'm just like, I know, go ahead.
Right.
And so that was the hard part. But I remember I went to a training camp like November of that year after talking to Snyder and Manning. So Snyder and Manning, they came to my house. I had taken like 2 months off and spent time with my family. So Snyder and Manning came to the crib and they're sitting down on the couch. They're like, yo, what do you want to do? Do you want to wrestle again or not? And I'm like, well, I don't know. And he's like, well, when you started this journey as a freestyle wrestler, what did you tell me? I was like, I wanted to be the best American wrestler of all time. He's like, well, what's changed? And I thought about it for a second, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I guess nothing really. And he's like, you can still do that. That goal is still intact. It's just going to take you a little bit longer. Right. And so I went to training camp about 2 weeks later, and I remember wrestling David Taylor in a match. We did like a freestyle simulation match, and I wrestled really well. We had a really good match. And I was like, damn, I still got it. Like, I can still do this. Because I started to question my abilities after that. I'm like, and I felt good. I was like, I can wrestle. I'm going to wrestle. I'm going to get back to it. I'm going to stay focused. But it stung, bro. Even still to this day, right? Like, I'm getting tagged on Instagram and like photos of, losing to Sidikov, losing to Godoyev, losing this. And so, I'm getting tagged in photos of like Dake chest rapping me, like all this stuff. So like every day I'm seeing these things in my feed, and I'm like, damn, this is stupid.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is, and it's kind of the nature of the sport. It's, we live our lives in a very public view.
Absolutely.
Everybody sees our failures, so you got to kind of deal with it differently.
Yeah, and you're responsible too. It's like wrestling's the only sport. It's like football, you can blame somebody else, but it's like
you can only blame yourself.
Yeah, you're the guy out there, man. Everybody knows that. You can't blame someone else.
But I think you guys know how it is.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, not to your caliber, but definitely understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But something too that resonated with me, and it kind of really showed me, like, it actually humanized you, because like we said earlier, like growing up, it was like, damn, Jordan Burroughs, like, my dad was like, this is how you got to wrestle. Like, this is the type of, this is what your example is set to. So for my whole life, it was like, all right, well, I got to try to get to Jordan Burroughs' level. Right. And then when I started to kind of realize that, like when I was in college, like I said, I started to realize that, hey, I'm probably not going to get to Jordan Burroughs' level on an athletic standpoint. But what can I do to learn from Jordan Burroughs, take wrestling away from him, and just learn the type of man he is? Because obviously, even if they took wrestling from Jordan Burroughs, you'd still be this, you might not have the same things that you have right now, but you still be the same person, right? You still be the same man. You still have the same morals and the same values that were instilled from a young age. So like, I was watching that interview and that quote, but also how you mentioned like that you felt like you let your family down, your wife and your kids. And it was like, they sacrificed so much for me to be able to accomplish my goals. And they put their lives on the back page for me to be first. And that's when I was like, that's what I can now become. Like, I won't become Jordan Burroughs as a wrestler, but I can become Jordan Burroughs as a father and a husband and a man who puts his family first and takes care of them before he takes care of himself. So that's like something that had to have eaten away at you, because obviously that's one of the first things you mentioned in a live interview that millions of people were going to see.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. It was, it was a unique time for me, particularly because my family was in the stands, right? Mm-hmm. Front row. So like, as I'm walking out, there's a photo. I don't know if you've seen the photo of my wife and I hugging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really after I lost to the Russian, right? And so I'm crying, and crazy thing is, in the background, you can see everyone leaning over the railing, like with their camera phones,
right,
taking pictures and kind of documenting this moment, which for them was just like, damn, that's messed up. But for me, it was like my whole world was kind of
cares what other people think
down in this single moment. And so, it was a moment in which I felt vulnerable, but I think that transparency, as you said, made me more human, made me more relatable.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, all I see is gold. I won pretty much everything that I competed in.
Absolutely.
And so it was a goal that people wanted to achieve, but it was very unrealistic. And for me, it was unsustainable, right? At some point, I remember when Zeke Jones was coaching me, he's like, bro, you know that someday you're going to lose. And I was like, no, I'm not.
I can't believe he said that to you, man. Threw your swagger off.
He was like, someday you're going to get beat. And I'm like, I don't think so. And so anyway, that moment, like I became a lot more relatable. Like, people could come up to me because now I've seen both sides of the spectrum. I've been the champion. I've done it all. I've trained hard. I've worked hard, made it happen. And then I've been the guy that, failed to achieve something that I still put my heart into. So I think the realization that I came away with was, sometimes you can work as hard as possible and things still won't work out for you.
Right.
That's just the way that you have to reconcile with life, is that some things just aren't for you. But there's plenty of other things that you can get to. And I think it's more about contentment and less about achievement, right? Because everything that I've accomplished up until this point, it's great. But now all my trophies, all my belts, all my medals, they just sit in the trophy case. Right? It's more about the perspective that you gain, people that
Mm-hmm.
you meet on that journey, who you become, what you have to overcome in that process, and less about actually the medal. You stand on the award ceremony is a 5-minute ordeal, right? You get all dried up, you put your stuff on, right? You get your everything good, right? Medals on, okay. They're gonna raise the flag, okay. Hand over your heart, you sing, boom, gone. Next weight class comes out, and it's over. Now it's like you can do it again. Right. And so it's a very, very different thing when you're in it. So I just try to have as much perspective as possible. And I've been blessed, man. I got a beautiful family, healthy family. I got a great wife. I got great coaches, great teammates and training partners. So yeah, it's good.
JB, what do you think you're gonna do after wrestling? You think you're gonna coach?
No.
No coaching? Away from wrestling.
No, I'm gonna stay in wrestling, bro.
Okay.
I'll always be in wrestling in some capacity just because I love it so much. But coaching is a grind. Being a head coach, I coached for a year at Nebraska.
I remember at Nebraska, yeah.
And I was like recruiting on calls with recruits every single night when we were going to tournaments, picking up the guys, getting the rental cars, making sure that they're taken care of, going to the grocery store to get them food, right? Going to 3-day tournaments like the NCAA tournament where you're coaching highs and lows every single match, every round. It's just not my thing. I love flexibility. I love freedom, and I'm like an entrepreneur at heart. So I really like establish myself in different ways and see what I can do from
an awesome
perspective. Yeah. So I also like spending time with my family. So you know, my wife and I will probably have some more kids and get back to the East Coast, which you guys saw the announcement that I made.
Yeah, that's super exciting.
JB, the next venture capitalist, huh? Possibly.
Hey, when I came to Ann Arbor a couple years ago, we went to Frida Batido's.
Oh man, that place slaps, man. That place is good.
What's it, Zingerman's?
Zingerman's, of course. Yeah, that's the President Obama went there when he went to Ann Arbor.
You know you're talking to a wrestler when he knows all the great food spots, man.
All the food spots, bro.
All the good food spots. Yeah, Zingerman's.
No, Ann Arbor is a great place to live, man. I mean, it truly is. That's probably my next when I pick up and move my family when I have a few more kids. That's probably where we're moving next is Ann Arbor. Just back to Ann Arbor. Back to Ann Arbor, yeah. Because when I lived there for 5.5 years, going to school there, it was like I never wanted to leave, and I still have that feeling.
It looks like Detroit's making a resurgence too.
I hope so. I really hope so. That's what I want to kind of do when I'm done wrestling, help out the community. Because obviously, our family's Lebanese American, and Dearborn's the largest Arab population outside the Middle East.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely gonna do some stuff trying to help them, and then help the city of Detroit, man, recover. Because you go to all these places, and then you go downtown Detroit, and you're like, man, why can't this be like Chicago? Why can't these? I mean, you probably see it like Camden, bro. It's like, I mean, Detroit and Camden are pretty similar, man. There's just places you just don't go.
That's right. I love American history. So my wife's from Buffalo, which is relatively similar to Detroit in terms of, you know, its establishment as an industrial town after the revolution.
Yeah.
You know, its numbers at the turn of the 19th century were huge, right? Or turn of the 20th century, should I say, where there were millions of people in the city, high on industry, right on the river, or on Lake Erie, excuse me. And then right after the economic downturn and, you know, after the war and the Great Depression, all of these cities just tanked, right? People in masses, and you know, it was just crazy what it did to the city. And so I read a book called Detroit by a guy named Charlie LaDuff. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of it.
I've heard of it. Yes, I have. Yeah.
It's pretty wild to see with the auto industry how it made Detroit such a wonderful city, but then also when they started sending all these factories overseas,
killed it
to the numbers there, and then just the segregation. You know, it's wild. It's a wild place.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's sad too when you see how flourishing it was, and then how it kind of took that down. But they're doing so many good things there. Dan Gilbert's helping rebuild that city into something special. They're doing a lot of great things to bring Detroit back. But a little bit put on hold with COVID, right? I mean,
crazy, right? Dearborn. That's where Ford's based, right?
Yeah, Dearborn, baby.
Yeah. I just saw the Ford Bronco.
You trying to cop one?
It's
dope.
It's nice. It's nice, especially if you like to be outdoors and go hiking, camping, and stuff like that. It's a perfect car for you. Truck,
it's a nice alternative to a Jeep, right? I've been a big fan of Wranglers for a long time, but I've never pulled the trigger on one, so I think I might.
I have a Cherokee.
The technology in the Bronco is super nice too. They have like a 360 camera and everything in there, and you can see what's going on behind you and on the side of you, in front of you, and you can like record your like your trail cam too, and like post it on social media, which is cool.
That's crazy.
Technology these days,
Yeah.
man.
That's crazy.
Speaking of social media, what like I've always been curious to know, like when you're wrestling, and then it's like it's pretty tough. We all know like it's pretty tough to build a career out of wrestling for an average wrestler. Even like for a guy that wrestled in college and had a good career, they got to really bust their ass coming out of college to build themselves a career out of wrestling.
Sure.
So like, when was it for you? There was like, all right, I think I can build a brand and build Jordan Burroughs into a brand and make a career out of wrestling to where I can actually support a family.
That's a good question. It really didn't take me much time at all because I won the world championship 4 months after I graduated, right? I left I graduated from Nebraska in May of 2011. I won the worlds in September of 2011. So I remember when I won the US Open my senior year of college, and I got $3,000 was the prize money from USA Wrestling for winning. And I remember it was the most money I ever had at one time. It was $3,000.
That's big cheese in college.
I went to the bank, bro. I was so excited. I was hyped. I had the check with me, signed it, took it to the teller. They were like, "Okay, sir, do you want to deposit this?" I'm like, "Nope, I'm taking straight cash." I'm like, I'm like, "I'll take large bills." Jeez, bro, give me the bread. So like, I remember when they gave it to me, counted out, I was like 100, 200. They were like, "You want an envelope?" I'm like, "Nope." Pulled out a rubber band, wrapped it up, stuck it in my pocket. I remember how hyped I was at the time because I had $3,000. I'd never seen that type of money before.
Right.
And fast forward to September with the Living a Dream Fund, I won Worlds. I got $50K. And so I remember when that was deposited into my account, I was
That's big boy money.
Yeah. Big boy money. So I went and got my own apartment without a cosigner. I was so hyped. I went to Nebraska Furniture Mart. I went and bought a king size bed and bought a new couch. And life was good at the time. So, you know, I never really had to think about ways in which to position myself or to try to market and brand. When I created All I See Is Gold, it was just something I did off the whim. And then I started having to win really consistently where people were like, damn, this dude really does only see gold.
Right.
And so it kind of stuck. And then, a year later, winning the Olympic Games and then having my own signature wrestling shoe, I was on the front of like every wrestling magazine.
Yeah.
And marketing just kind of did it itself. I was a face in the ambassador.
But you also were a marketable person because there's people out there that win Olympic gold or take silver or bronze and no one's heard of them.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And
That's true.
It's unfortunate because they bust their ass just as much as anybody else does. But you became a marketable person and you use social media to your advantage. And
there's people that do it, bro. There's some people out there that do it. And I think I'm trying to think of a couple of guys that have done it. Like I would say a guy like Bryce Meredith. Bryce Meredith is a guy who's really leveraged his following and parlayed it into money. From
his vlogs.
He's not a national team member, right? He's not a world or Olympic team member, but he's well recognized in the wrestling community. He's selling shoes. He's got T-shirts, packs. You know, he's got a strong following. So I think something to be said about that because everyone can't be on the world team.
Right.
You got to really figure out your niche and you got to apply it. And I think that for a long time, wrestlers have always been known as like these meatheads.
Yeah.
Right? Like these guys, you just like, I don't have social media and I just wrestle. I just train hard all the time and that's all I do. But if you want to make bread and you want to survive, you got to do that. You got to have a following. You got to like appeal to them and try to leverage your brand. Everybody's whether they like it or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I got a question.
Yo, what's up?
When you did that flow interview with Dick, was that real? Was that real trash talk?
Yeah,
or was that
real, bro? That was real.
For real? You swear to God? I was like, what? So you had no idea he was coming on?
No idea. So I had no idea. So I talked to Christian Piles the night before. I'm like, hey, I want to go talk
Did you like that, man? Come on.
Right. And so then I got on and then he was like, or Ben Askren's like, well, who could argue better for Kyle Dake than Kyle Dake himself? And so it was completely unscripted. And
Ben Askren's always a middleman.
I know, man. Get that guy out of here.
He thrives on chaos, though.
Yeah.
Right? It's a UFC thing. It's
he even tweeted it that he's going to be like, he's leaving.
He said something to Miles. He's
competitively.
like, Miles is not a good competitor. I'm like, bro, the guy's an Olympian. He's ranked 5th in the world. He's pretty good. It was like something about like that.
You got to be polarized. You know? because that
Yeah.
sells.
No idea.
Got to talk crazy.
Absolutely.
Got to say wild stuff because that's what draw.
He's a perfect example. I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The amount of tension he brings to him. I mean, he had like a total of 6 seconds with Jorge Masvidal, but he built up a lot of attention before that match, before that fight. You know what I mean?
That's not my thing. Right?
I know.
I would rather just
let the wrestling talk.
One, but for him, that's the market in which he was in for such a long period of time. And the UFC, the more you talk, the more money you make.
Right.
And so that's why Pat Downey is getting the matchups that he's getting. That's why he was on the flow card, because
absolutely
one of those guys that he is going to try to kind of generate an audience by talking crazy to his opponents and getting
right.
Yeah.
So
right.
David Taylor's not a trash talker, but David Taylor's even been going at Pat Downey.
I know. I saw that. I'm like, what?
Media. So it's like, hey guys, like play this up, like make this look good, like
right.
No more, let's get more people to watch this.
Right.
Even if it's out of your comfort zone. So it's a little weird, but it is.
I know. I saw that and I was like, man, it's like JB. He's like, you look like you were like so confused. You're like, what's going on, man?
Yeah, I'm confused and I'm pissed.
Oh, I would be pissed too, man. That's like going in like an interview and all of a sudden like somebody come out of nowhere just start talking trash to you, like, hey, man,
like LeBron was doing an interview and then all of a sudden they pull
Skip Bayless or somebody, bro.
Like like Pat Beverly up on, like, just like, you know what I mean? They'd be like, what?
Yeah, for real. I agree with that.
No media company would ever do that to a celebrity or to a superstar athlete. So I thought it was but whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah, I feel that. But it was just kind of funny when I was watching it. I'm like, this is just like, I was like, man, this has got to be staged. And then like now we're finally talking to you, and now you're saying it's not. I gotta go back and watch it again because like I heard like Kyle, because Miles used to train with Kyle like all the time because he asked Miles to go out and wrestle with him because Miles and him were about the same weight.
Never wrestled Miles, but
he's a big boy, man. He's like 200 pounds now, man. I don't know what he's doing next year. 84, 97. I don't know what the hell he's doing, but yeah. So he used to go fly out with Dake, and I was like, how is Kyle? Like, is he? No, he's like, man, he's just like how he is, man. He's like, he believes like the functional patterns and like the grounding and all that stuff. I'm like,
aging in reverse.
Yeah. So he believes all that stuff. Yeah. I'm like, and we have a kid on our team. I don't know if you know Yusuf Hamida. He's like his disciple. He's like everything Kyle says is like the truth. I'm like, Yusuf, come on, man. You gotta give it a little bit of time, man. You gotta kind of read through it, but it's just kind of funny. Yeah, that is.
That's half the battle, right? If you truly believe in your training, then
that's it. Yeah,
but it's obviously more than one way to be a champion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, you gotta work hard too, man.
Exactly. I mean, like you said, just let the wrestling speak for itself when it comes to that point. I mean, that interview went on for a long time. It was back and forth trash talk. I remember watching that.
You weren't trash talking though. You were just like, man, I beat you like 5 times, man. What else do I have to say? Like what else is there to say? It's like, okay, if it's
at some point where it's like, okay, we'll see, bro.
Yeah, it's like DC and Stipe, bro. Okay, you beat me once, I beat you next time. Now it's a third fight. It's not like that, bro. It's like 6 times to 1, man. It's like the series is over, man.
Yeah, it's that's Kyle.
I know you're not. We're not trying to get you to say anything either.
No.
This is kind of funny, like watching that, and I was like, oh man, it's like did he know? I'm like, did he know? And like some people are showing me this, like, you see just JB interview? I'm like, yeah, man, I don't know how legit that is. And now that you're saying it, I'm like, oh man, I was like, I gotta watch that again. Like,
it definitely was not what I expected from the whole ordeal, but it quickly turned, right, from talking about the competition about you. Us at 165 to, okay, let's talk about when we compete in the future, which there's no guarantee that we'll even compete. For me, I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm a medalist from this past year. So I'm already in the finals of the trials. There's still numerous guys that you have to go through at 74 kilos here domestically.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not just dismissing anyone. I think Kyle's a good wrestler. He's a tremendous opponent. He's quick. He's athletic. He's strong. He's technical. I want him to win every single match that he competes in, just not the ones against me. Right. I want you to be successful. I just want to beat you, and I think you're a great wrestler. I just think I'm a better wrestler.
No disrespect.
I don't have to say anything bad about you to convince myself that I can beat you. I just think that when the time comes for us to compete, I will win. That's it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree with that. I have another question for you. It's like, you wrestled Sidakov twice now?
Twice, yeah.
Twice. Is there any adjustments the next time. Well, hopefully you guys wrestle again. You never know with the Olympics and everything. You know, it might not even happen. But what adjustments are you trying to make so so next time you don't make the same mistakes technically?
Sure.
You know,
I'd say one of the
because
things
he's just long. Yeah, he's just a long guy. He looks like he's just a hard guy to wrestle.
he is.
Yeah.
He commits to wrestling his way, his style for the entirety of a match. He's a good hand fighter, closes the gap, controls my wrist, good collar tie, digs underhook. He's got a good outside step, high C, can shrug on his left side. He's a tough competitor. He's a good wrestler. He's slick, and I think he's getting better. One thing for me is I have to control the hand fight, right? I've got to really elevate my effort level with the hand fight in the match. Like if I go back and watch them, or not really 2018, but 2019, like he really controlled the hand fight. And I played the game a little bit too much in order to sting him late, right? But it came back to actually hurt me late in the match. So I think for me, obviously I'd like to have a 3-4 point lead with the last 20 seconds on the line. So I still have an opportunity to, whatever it's a need to concede a position without giving up a step out with 4 or 5 seconds left. But I think that I've really just focused on neutralizing the hand fight, not letting him control my wrist, because ultimately if anyone's within a point of me in the last 30 seconds of a match, they're like, this is perfect. Even if they're down by a single point. So I think that's where I have to really utilize my skills, my offense, my power, and kind of the fear behind constant threats, constant fakes, and constant attacks. And that's something that I got away from with Sidikov. So I think, the hand fight, controlling the position, moving my feet more often, and really clearing my wrist and staying in threatening position to make him uncomfortable more.
Right.
Hey man, you seem like you got it figured out. Bring it on, Sidikov.
He asked me this in August next year. We'll see.
Yeah. Throughout the quarantine, how have you been keeping up with training and everything, as far as obviously wrestling, but then I've like strength training and conditioning as well?
Yeah, so that's been tough. So early on in the quarantine, it was difficult because everything was shut down. So we really couldn't go anywhere. But fortunately for us, we have a local wrestling club that gave us full access to their facility.
That's
So
nice.
we've been getting on the wrestling mat about 4 times a week now, which has been really solid. And so James Green's still here in town before he takes off from Virginia Tech. Tyler Berger's here, Robert Kokesh, Isaiah White is here as well. And so I've been training with those guys pretty regularly. And it's good, man. Nothing's really super structured at this point. We are just kind of in there sparring, drilling. We'll get a couple of live minutes in occasionally, but really just getting our bodies moving, staying in shape. So when the time does arrive for our real wrestling room to open back up and we have structured training, that I can have some sort of foundation of fitness level. And so, yeah, man, I think at this point it's good. It's good. It's working for all of us. And, but I miss it, man. I really miss the grind of feeling purposeful in the things that I'm doing. Right. So it's been a long 4 months.
Yeah. It's felt like it's been 5 years, sitting in the house all day.
It's crazy. It's crazy how, and it's not even close to ending, which is
crazy, because I think people think like January 1 hits and then the quarantine. I mean, like coronavirus is over. You know what I mean? Like next year, and it's like there's a very good chance this can continue on into later next year. You just don't know.
That's the thing. I think I don't know. I'm not a professional medical expert, so I can't even really kind of speculate on it. But hopefully, we'll get to a place where at least we can start living.
Absolutely. I can't imagine having the young kids too running around trying to keep them cooped up in the house.
Oh no, they gotta go to school, man.
So a quarantine hits, right? You gotta stay in the crib with them all day. But no, they're doing a good job. It's been a special time. Typically at this point, I would be either at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado, I'd be overseas in Europe competing somewhere, or doing a photo shoot or some sort of sponsorship obligation. But I've been able to spend 4 uninterrupted months with my family.
That's awesome.
It's special for me. So I feel like we're growing closer. And it'll be a time that when we look back, we'll be thankful that we had. So when we do get back to another busy Olympic year, right? So it's like back-to-back Olympic years where it's
Right.
trials and there's photo shoots and you're doing things for sponsors and then your prep work, training camps, all that stuff. So it's going to be another busy year ahead of us regardless. So I'm glad that I got to spend this last one with my family.
This I can't remember on your blog on your website, but did you say this is going to be your last run?
No, I'm going,
Wait,
bro.
Just until
until it's done.
Yep.
Until like I physically just wake up and be like, you know what? I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah. Might as well, right? While
done.
you're still sharp and your body's still in shape, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I still love it, bro. I still love it. And I'm really good at it. And
of course.
Yeah.
Like I still can get better. And there may never be another tremendous leap in my wrestling where it's like, damn, JB got really good. But I feel like there's still some things that I can sharpen up on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's what makes me excited.
Of course.
That I want to do within my wrestling and improve on. To display the type of wrestler that I've always been. So getting closer to that, and up until then, I feel good. So this is my last year in Nebraska. So
yeah, I saw that. Yeah, back home.
And then after Tokyo, I'm gonna go move to Philly with my family. Gonna be starting the first grade in the fall of 2020.
Oh, that's nice.
Speaking wrestling yet?
He's messing with it. He's messing with it, bro. So he's tough.
He is.
Well, I mean, he's got to be.
He's got to be.
So my wife Lauren, all three of her brothers wrestled Division I.
Okay.
And her dad was their high school wrestling coach.
Oh man.
So one of her brothers wrestled at Arizona State. Another brother wrestled at American. He was a 2-time NCAA qualifier. And then another wrestled at University of Buffalo in Brockport. So if I don't get him, his uncles or his grandpa will get him. Right.
Yeah.
So he's around the sport.
He's got to be wrestling.
Right.
He's got the pedigree. So it'll be good, bro. And if he doesn't wrestle, we'll just keep having more kids until we finally get one.
Beacon might be the next Ronaldo. You never know.
He loves soccer too, so possible.
Yeah. I love soccer, man. Soccer's just a fun sport.
It's a sport that's
the world sport, man.
Yeah, it is the world. It's cool too, man. It's trendy as hip. They look cool. They're all tatted up, fresh haircuts.
I know, man. They got swag.
You know what I mean?
Soccer, they don't got to deal with ringworm and all the skin infections and cutting weight. And
if you told this to somebody and you said all this stuff and they're like, why would you do that? And like everyone asks me, like, why the hell are you wrestling? What's wrong with you? I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just love it.
Listen, think about if you had the opportunity. Say you have boys, right? Say you're about to have a little boy. Malik, you're gonna have a boy, and they're like, "Dad, I want."
We'll see. We'll see how long that is until I get married. It might be a minute.
Like, I want to wrestle, Dad, and they were getting pretty good at it. You're like, and they had the opportunity to do something else exceptionally too. They were just as good at soccer. They were just as good at baseball. Like, would you push them into wrestling, or would you kind of steer them in different directions? Like, I love wrestling so much that I would want to watch it because that's the sport that I enjoy, but. It's also very difficult to make a career out of this.
Right.
And it's such a niche sport where if I was as good in any other sport as I am in wrestling, I'd be a multi-millionaire.
Right.
So it's one of those things where do you push them to the direction of where they get more recognized, they get more opportunity and more money, or do you just push them to do what it is that you love?
I mean, I'm biased. Right, because I've grown up wrestling and been around wrestling. Both my mom's side and my dad's side of the family are all wrestling, regardless of what side I was going. I was wrestling. So it's like, but like what I've learned from the sport of wrestling and the relationships that I've developed, and like I said, I'm biased, but I don't really believe that I could have got that out of any other sport.
Yeah, for sure.
Because wrestling is such a tight knit community. I mean, you go anywhere. Like I was on a cruise. When I was in sophomore year of high school, and I met like 4 people on the cruise, and we knew each other just through like wrestling tournaments. And it was on a cruise ship that was just so random. Like anybody that could go on a cruise ship, I met like 4 kids that were my age. We've all been at common wrestling. One of them was on my chart at Super 32. Like it was just like all these different relationships that you can create from wrestling, such a small community. And I think that you couldn't get that out of any other sport, right? And I know people might say that I'm wrong, but I would definitely, if my kid was good at
It's so
soccer
funny, though.
and my kid was really good at wrestling,
Yeah.
and I would obviously let him choose or her, but I would push wrestling, obviously, just because I think
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, because it's something I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
Are you interviewing us now, JB? Is that what's going on?
It's an open-ended conversation.
The cave. Welcome to the cave.
Yeah. Welcome to the cave.
So, like, let's say, and you guys, where would you go to school, Jordan? Did you go to DCC too?
No, so I went to my dad was a head coach of Brighton High School, which is like 20 minutes from DCC.
Okay.
So I went there to wrestle with my dad as a coach, and then my dad retired my senior year, and then Malik went to DCC.
We went there when my Uncle Sam was going there. There's a little bit of controversy going on.
Yeah, Malik's a grade younger than me. I'm the oldest of me.
CC, and my Uncle Sam was still coaching at Brighton, so that didn't sit too well. But it's over now. But
so let's say you guys had your kids, your boys, your girls, whoever decides to wrestle.
Yeah.
They were really exceptional at a young age, but they couldn't go to DCC. They couldn't go to Brighton. They had to go to Wyoming Sim or Blair or Prep. They were like, Dad, like, this is a big opportunity for me. If I do this, I can get a scholarship, full ride. I can go on and be this tremendous wrestler, but I got to go live at this boarding school away from home.
Right.
Would you guys be willing to kind of sacrifice part of their childhood to get them an advanced
So
life? Or do you want them to experience that time with you for the development of self and just kind of do what you can to develop them and help them excel as athletes?
Well, I think that it would definitely be a tough decision because, like, my daughter is not even born yet. She's born in October, and like I already feel like I told my wife, listen.
You're like, no, she's fine.
I told her, I was like, listen, I'm gonna be taking Ava to work. I'm gonna put her like in a little papoose, and like you can, if she breastfeeds, you can pump milk. I'll bring it and I'll feed it to her. Like, there's already gonna be bad separation anxiety, so I already know I'm gonna be screwed when it comes to her like going to college and stuff. But
yeah.
I think that in order for me to be a good father and want the best for my kid, because I always want my kids to be better than me, right?
Yeah.
So I think that I would have to not be selfish in the opportunity if my son or daughter was able to get to go away to school to better their opportunity to get to where they want to be, then I would definitely have to allow it. You know what I mean? I'd have to accept the fact that that's going to happen. But obviously, if I can push them to stay with me and convince them that, hey, Daddy's going to be able to get you to that same level under my wing, without having to send them under someone else's wing, I would definitely.
You're not that. I'm going.
Yeah.
But no matter what, you got to come back to Michigan.
Right.
You got to go to Michigan.
I think that I would make it work. You know what I mean? I think that I would put myself in I would put myself in the right place to be able to say, hey, I can pick up my bags and eventually move down there if that's what I need to do, or if I need to come stay, because I wouldn't want my relationship to suffer in the bonding opportunities I'd have with my child. So I would probably have to maybe go stay down there for a few months out of the year or something, whatever I need to do.
Yeah. Feel that.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's good stuff. Yeah,
what do you think? What if Beacon's like, Dad, I need to ship out to somewhere else to train. Dad can't train me anymore.
Sam, they're both close to you though. Sam and Blair. Not too far.
That's a good question. I'm the same way. I think that I'm going to put him in the best position to be successful, but I'm going to try to do my best where he doesn't ever feel like he's got to leave.
Yeah.
I hope that he feels that Dad has his best interest at heart and is the most competent to make sure that he's getting what he needs to be successful.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really particular. I started wrestling at 6. Tomorrow's his birthday. Beacon turns 6 tomorrow.
Happy birthday,
awesome.
Beacon.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Well, isn't your birthday July 7th?
8th.
Mine's the 4th, man.
Happy birthday, bro.
Cancer to you too, man. Cancer, bro. Let's go. I'm 25, man. I don't look 25. Shit, I'm getting old.
Getting old. Shut up.
Swear to God, man. Oh, the day after 4th of July was a tough day. A tough day.
This guy's a character.
He's 25, man.
Malik's had a beard. Malik's had a
man.
beard since he's been like 12 years old.
Well, it's funny. It's just so funny. You meet Miles, and then you meet me, and then you meet my dad, and you meet my mom, and you're like, dude, you're just like your dad. I'm like, yep, I am.
Well, people always think Miles is the older brother.
Yeah. He kind of is. I look up to Miles, to be honest. I mean, he's just a lot more, I would say, mature than I am. and just admittedly, but I look up to Miles, man.
So it's just
That's my hero.
Malik and Miles. It was
Yeah,
just
and
you.
then my older sister. My
Oh,
older sister, Marissa, she graduated from Michigan State. She lives in Chicago now. She does like consulting and stuff.
She was a Spartan. She went.
Yeah, man. My mom and my sister, and actually his sister. So
My sister and my wife are both Spartans.
Okay.
Traitors, man.
But it's either between Michigan and Michigan State, which keeps it cool.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. I got no wrestling tradition here besides Nebraska, so hopefully we'll see if Beacon even decides to wrestle.
Come on, Beacon. Beacon's got to come to Michigan, Jordan. Can we make that a promise? Can you make this?
Yeah. So then you can
verbal,
come.
Hey, this is a verbal commit, everybody. Got a verbal to Michigan, youngest ever.
Like, listen, if Bormat offers him a full ride, he'll go to Michigan.
Right now, he might not even be the coach.
12 years from now, Beacon's gonna be.
Yeah, Beacon's gonna.
When I was 6 years old, I just wrote my name in print. Letters are backwards.
Yeah.
Well, I actually used to do that growing up. Like, my dad would. I grew up watching Michigan wrestling, and I always wanted to wrestle at Michigan.
Yeah.
So like, I grew up like signing fake letters of intent, and like,
This guy, yeah.
I'd have like a Michigan T-shirts. I'd be wearing them all day long. Like Michigan wrestling singlets. My dad got me a few custom made. So like growing up, that was always something that I was like, damn, I want to do. So maybe, hey, Beacon, if he starts signing letters now and you're getting it in his mind, maybe
I was
that's
like that. I was like that until I got into high school, and then like it's just kind of funny because like McFarland was the coach. My dad's friends with McFarland.
Yep.
Oh.
This Rise.
Baby Risey.
Hi, Rise.
Here comes trouble.
Maybe she's gonna be the next wrestling star.
Yeah.
She's the biggest.
She's so cute, man.
She's the biggest.
She's the biggest. So Beacon were shrimps. She's in the 97th percentile in height and weight. So she's a.
Oh my goodness.
She looks like her mom.
Athlete. Yeah, I know. She does look like. Sorry to tell you, but she looks like Lauren, man. No, but back to us, this is kind of funny. When I was in high school, it's like we all knew we were going to Michigan, and then like I kind of knew I was going to Michigan, but I took visits to Ohio State. And like in a junior year in high school, I was wearing Penn State, Iowa, and Joe's like, "What the hell is Malik doing wearing all that crap? He knows he's coming to Michigan." My dad's like, "I love it, man. Just keep being controversial." But I just ended up going to Michigan. It's just kind of funny you said that.
The Pentelio family, they have a history.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Joe and Alec.
It was actually really cool how it all worked out. It's so crazy history. Like I said, wrestling, man, it's such a tight-knit community. I don't think there's anything like it because history literally repeated itself for us at Michigan. So my dad and my Uncle Mike wrestled at Michigan together. Their teammates were Joe Pantelio and Mr. Lester, and who else?
Jihad
and Brandon. There's a guy named what's his name?
Brandon Hill.
Brandon Hill's dad.
Kevin Hill.
Kevin Hill. So, anyways, there's a group of all these guys. They all wrestled together in Michigan with my father and his father. And then years down the road, we're all wrestling together again. They're Michigan like did a little like an article about it, but it's so crazy. We're all teammates again. Like all these guys' sons went on and wrestled and made it to the college level and wrestled at Michigan together.
That's dope.
I know it is crazy.
So it's like it's such a cool, like you don't get that in many other sports. You know what I mean?
I know. Well, you don't get that. The funny thing is, I didn't even know Alec was going to Michigan until like literally like a month before we were supposed to wrestle. Because me and Alec wrestled in the state finals my senior year in high school, and I had no idea. I'm like, what the hell is gonna happen, man? We've been competing against each other the whole time. Like when we're here, and all of a sudden we find out we're going to Michigan. Now me and Alec are really good friends, but it's just kind of funny how everything came full circle.
She's waving.
Oh.
Started waving.
That's wild, man.
That is wild. People need to learn more about Jordan Burroughs, man.
I think the world knows.
Everyone's scared of you. They're like, oh, man, he's probably such a mean guy. And I was like, you know what? My dad said, like, JB, he's a cool dude, man. And then all of a sudden, like, Jordan follows me on Twitter. I'm like, dude, what? I'm like, this is like the craziest thing. I'm like, showing everybody, look at Jordan followed me on Twitter. He followed me.
No, I got a lot of respect for your dad. And I only met him maybe twice, but there were always positive interactions with him.
Yeah, I love my dad, man. He's a good dude, man. He is.
He carries himself just like a boss. He
is a boss. You know what's so funny? It's when he's around my mom, he's like, you know, he's dad. He's uptight, like, hey, don't do this, don't do that. When he's around the boys, man, he hasn't aged a day.
It was funny though, because we were so we just got done shooting with Kyvan like a few days ago, and literally Malik was over here. and his dad was over here. And he was about to leave, and he was in the driveway, and he was like, my Uncle Mike was like, I'm gonna text Jordan Burroughs. Let's see if we can get him on the show. I'm like,
So let me
hey,
text
if you
JB.
can text Jordan Burroughs and get him on our podcast, like,
Hey,
that'd be
take dinner or something.
yeah.
I know.
So he's gonna have to come over. I'm gonna have to cook him some fillets on the cast
But you
iron.
know what he did exactly? As soon as after he's like, I got Jordan Burroughs, like, that means you gotta get me on the show. I'm like, Dad, we'll get you on the show, man.
Oh,
Come
your
on,
pop
man.
do his segment too.
Yeah, well, he
Yeah.
did it on Gabe. He did it on Gabe Dean's. I mean, my dad's super knowledgeable about wrestling, but also about how wrestling carries over into business too, because he runs a super successful financial firm too. So, I would love to have him on. I mean, he's my dad, but I mean, I think a lot of people would want to hear it because he's been through everything. He grew up poor, and then he turned himself into self-made.
all through wrestling
Yeah, all
too,
through
which
wrestling.
is really cool.
I'd love to hear it too.
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be a good resource for a lot of wrestlers.
Absolutely.
Hey,
He's actually there's something that they call wrestlers in business.
yeah,
And he's one of the guys that started
he'll hook
something
you up,
that
man.
initially-
Anything financial you need, man, just call him. He'll hook you up.
So yeah, I'll connect with him, man. He's a good dude.
Yeah, Wrestlers in Business. What you talking about, Wrestlers in Business? Yeah, he started that in Michigan. I
In
don't know.
Michigan
Is it just
chapter.
Michigan?
No, they do it all over, but they have one in Michigan, and he basically runs that with your mom.
You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. I think my mom's on the board.
The guy on the Michigan squad that we should be looking out for. Besides, right?
Jack Medley. Jack Medley, man. I'm telling you, that
Medley.
guy is a hammer. It's like, dude, that guy is like on, man. He reminds me of like a grinder, but he just doing all the right things.
You
man.
know-
the guy
you know,
ran a
like-
marathon.
Well,
dude.
you know the Murph workouts. You know what a Murph is? He's just like doing those just to do them.
Casually.
Yeah, just like run with like a 20-pound vest on for a mile, do
Yeah.
300 push-ups.
He's
300
like your modern
pull-ups.
day like Dan Gable. He's like, I'm just gonna run a marathon. I'm like, what? He's like, you.
Yeah.
He's like, you should run a marathon. I'm like, I'll rain check that, bro. I'll get back to you tomorrow. I'm not running
Yeah, but
a
he's
marathon.
influencing his teammates to run. I mean, Miles, my cousin, went and ran with him
He
and did a
mile to
marathon
the half.
and half marathon.
Miles
But
and a half.
but if he wasn't going to do it, if Jack Medley wasn't going to push him to do it, you know what I mean?
Man, so damn cute, man. It is so
I
funny.
love babies. This is
Oh, me too.
cool
I
state.
know.
As they get older, it gets better because you can do more with them. They can rationalize. You can have legitimate conversations.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a little special
Do you
time.
do you ever talk to her just to have conversations with her?
Yeah, I try to talk. I never did baby talk. Like I was
Really?
always like addressing.
You know
Yeah.
what? You know what? Actually, did you? I actually read. I started to read a lot to the baby while she's in my wife Allie. She's in in
Yeah.
the stomach, and like I read to her at night, and she just starts kicking like crazy.
They
She
recognize
moves.
your voice, bro.
Yeah, it's so like I heard that and I was like, that's bullshit. Like no way. And then
They're talking crazy.
I
man.
started to do it. I'm like, all right, I'm
Babies.
gonna do it. And then I started reading Dr. Seuss books to her, and like you could see her like moving. She starts to like kick a lot and have more activity. Like it was like I was like, oh my god. So now we're reading to her every night.
Have you ever heard of baby buds or belly buds?
What is
No.
that?
Belly buds are like headphones that you stick to your belly, and you connect them to your iPhone, and then you just play music into her belly.
Really?
What?
So they're like these little suction cups, and then it goes through the
That's
suction.
the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Bro, it's hilarious. So
Start
you stick
paying
it
some
to the belly,
Drake.
you
Put some
stick-
Drake
you
on
like,
there.
you play classical music to the baby. It'll
Yeah.
be more intelligent. It's like
Really? What if you start throwing like Drake on there? What you think gonna happen? Start coming out with some pre.
The
Stabon,
babies-
yo,
Come on, spit.
Stabon,
Yeah.
Stabon will for sure do that. Quote me on that and record this. Stabon is gonna do that. He's gonna be playing Drake, Diplo, all that stuff, man.
Yeah,
That guy is the
Stefan's-
biggest hype beast. I
Stefan
love
is a hype
Stabon.
beast.
Stabon's my brother, but man, he even tags it. He goes, "Am I the biggest hype beast at Flow Wrestling?" I'm like, Stabon, man, you're not supposed to do that, man. They're supposed to say that to
Hey,
you.
you're not supposed to coin
Yeah.
yourself.
hilarious.
He's got like the Supreme bot and all that stuff, man. Because he talked about it on the podcast last time we had on here. And he's like, yeah, he's talking like all these like Japanese brands. I'm like, dude, this guy is excited more than anybody to go to Tokyo.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
He don't care about the
Well,
Olympics.
we were as soon as Miles qualified for the Olympics, like the next day, like half of our family like booked flights out to
Yeah,
Tokyo.
they did.
Like we were all
We
gonna
had,
go
like,
watch
40
him
people,
and
man.
then have all these a big Amin army in
Yeah, that
Tokyo
is the
watching
Amin army.
Miles and hopefully supporting Malik if he
Yeah,
was
we'll
able to
see.
qualify back then. But then unfortunately, man, it all got
You
canceled.
just
but-
don't know, man. It's just like the thing is like you want to hope and you want to get all your hopes up, but then some doctor out of nowhere says, "Okay, it's coming back." What are
Yeah.
you gonna do? You can't. There's not anything you do. The only thing you do is honestly hope and pray.
Right.
I mean, stick to your faith, man. Hopefully everything works out. But it's just wild, man. Just absolutely wild. Who do you think? I was going to ask you who's the guy in Nebraska to look out for next year?
I mean, if we even have a season.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. A college is like.
That's a good question. We got some good guys, man. We got there's a kid from Indiana that transferred to Nebraska, Liam Cronin.
I know Cronin. Yeah.
He was there 25 pounds this year. He transferred to Nebraska. He's going to be at 25.
He's tough.
And then
Ridge Lovett's tough, man. I love watching that kid wrestle. He's a scrapper, man. Oh, he's redshirting?
Our 25, Alex Thompson can move up to 33. 41, we still got Chad Red, who's obviously
CJ.
And then at 49, we have Kevon. He's going to be our starter at 49. So they'll slide. And then at 57, we got Peyton Robb, tough kid.
Yeah, he's tough as hell.
65 is where we're trying to figure out who's going to be in our lineup. We got a couple.
Oh, Zay's gone?
Zay's done.
Yeah.
And then we're pretty good throughout. We have 74 Labriola, 84 Vince, 97 Schultz.
Oh, Labriola.
And heavyweight is
you know about this story, don't you?
Yeah.
Were you there for that at the Cliff Keen? You probably heard about that, the brawl that happened.
Pop was about to fight his pop like
Bro, this is hilarious. I mean, you probably heard the story a million times, but yeah. So like, all of a sudden, like Miles is pounding Labriola, just beating the hell out of him. It was like 7-0, and like my dad's like, you know how wrestling dads are. He's crazy. He's like, put his head in the mat, blah, blah, blah. And Mr. Labriola is like right by him. He's like, that's illegal. That's illegal. My dad goes, no, it's not. No, it's not. And then all of a sudden the match goes by, and he goes, good match. And him and my dad are like this, and he's grabbing his head, and my dad snapped.
His head.
Yeah, they're like going like this to each other. I have no idea, man. I have zero idea.
You want to go? Yeah.
And the funniest thing is, like, I'm like trying to push everybody off, and like Mr. Red grabs me, and I didn't know it was him, so I like pushed him off, like shoved him. And CJ comes right up, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" That's my dad. I'm like, CJ, bro, I didn't know, man. Like,
my bad.
No, for real, because I'm friends with CJ too, and he's like, "Why would you do that? You know that's." I'm like, dude, I did not have any idea, man. Like, and I gotta go wrestle like 2 minutes later, dude. It was just so funny, man. Oh man, the brawl and whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, man.
That's a fun tournament. I the Cliff Keen way.
And Vegas is a fun time, man. We'll see if rain
I've
check
never
next
been
time.
to Vegas to
just go to Vegas.
I've only been for wrestling. I've been like
that's
probably 10 times, but only for the Open, for the World Championships, for Cliff Keen, like all these different tournaments. I went out, did something for the UFC one time, but I've never been just to like
the UFC
a day pool or like.
Oh man,
You think
after the Olympics, I'm gonna take you out, JB. Hold me to it.
Yeah.
he's gonna take you out with the $3,000 he's got in his bank?
Get this guy out of here, man.
You'll be able to go to one place. And,
Revenue.
I got the plug. I got the plug in Vegas. I do.
At the plug.
no, I know you do.
I do. He's this guy runs a.
You never wanted to pursue the UFC, did you? I'm sure you've been contacted.
I've thought about it for a while, just because it's so lucrative, right? It's hard to pass up.
It is, man.
Some serious bread, but
Yeah,
I mean, they're taking a serious beating too.
absolutely.
You think I don't know if you wouldn't get beat up, man. You're too quick.
Yeah, that's what the famous last words of everybody that's got knocked out.
But look at Usman, man.
Yeah,
Dude,
Usman.
I want to. You should get in contact with him and tell him, bro, you can make the Olympics at 86 kilograms. Like he could, realistically.
Well, he can't.
He can't.
He can't beat David. No, not in a wrestling.
No. But he can wrestle for Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't think
Bro, like why would you do that? Africa's so easy, bro. It's a joke. Miles wrestled some guy from like Egypt and like pounded him. I was like, man, I'm like, dude, Usman could literally come back.
Question. I wonder why he hasn't tried that. He probably could.
Probably because
could,
he's
but
making so much damn money from the UFC
like
right
you
now.
said, Jordan, it's not about the money, man. Like
It's not,
that's
but
just
it is when you get a check for a lot of money.
That's
I
true.
think the one thing I've realized is money just offers you comfort and convenience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like the more money you have, the more convenient things are.
Well, like a time like the coronavirus crisis, man. I mean, imagine trying to survive that with no money,
Yeah,
with the family.
Well, the government gave everybody that COVID
Yeah,
stimulus.
but for
so-
some people,
$1,200, bro. That's nothing.
that's not enough money. If you got, I
1,200,
mean, look at
No,
a guy like
bro,
Jordan
on the
Burroughs got 3
unemployment,
kids.
bro.
What are you gonna do
They're
with
giving me like
$1,200?
$3,000 a month.
Yeah,
But Michigan froze up everybody's accounts, man. The governor screwed everything up, man. I feel bad for the people who actually need it. They froze like 700,000 people's accounts because like one person was taking advantage of the system, and it's just a mess here now.
Hopefully there can become an easier way for athletes as time goes on and wrestling grows popularity,
man.
To get paid to be able to pursue their dreams, because it makes it tough, man, when you got to live in.
I didn't meet any of the accolades because I was only a 2-time NCAA qualifier, and obviously I did well at the Worlds, but it's like there's like guys that I know that are getting paid like $48,000 that haven't made a world team. Like, it's just crazy.
The market's going up though, bro. When I graduated in 2011, I remember I got 2 calls. I got a call from Cale Sanderson the very next day after the NCAA championships. I got a call from Tom Ryan.
That's quick.
And they were like, hey, listen, I don't know what you're doing after this year, but if you want to continue to wrestle, pursue freestyle, come train with us. And they only offered me like 20 grand each. It was like $1,500 a month or something crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time thinking like, man, I don't know much about wrestling, but this doesn't seem like very much.
No.
So I agreed to stay at Nebraska. Nebraska at the time, they were like, we'll pay you 30 grand.
That's pretty good though to start.
It's not bad.
Not for you though. I mean, you're a 2-time NCAA champ. You should get more than that.
But now guys coming out of college, I was a 2-time undefeated champ, right? And so no guy's taking less than 30. If they're a champ, they're not taking less than 30.
No, right. No way.
These guys are expensive. I'm like, these guys are expensive, especially guys that are going to have difficulty making a world team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I can't complain though, because San Marino pays for everything for us, man. They're awesome. We could have not asked for a better delegation. I mean, my mom, like, real MVP, man. She hooked everything up because Andy Rovat, poor Andy. I love Andy to death, but he did not know what the hell was going on, man. He's like, yeah, they have a wrestling federation. They end up not having a wrestling federation. Me and Miles have to go over there. They're like questioning our skills. Like, you have to come to San Marino and show us that you're worthy. Like, okay, they're gonna call the shots. You really gonna call the shots? Like Miles, a 2-time All-American, 3-time All-American at the time. And they're like, you guys need to come over here and prove yourself. So we went over there, like we whooped these dudes. Like I wrestled a dude who was like 97 kilograms in Greco. And they're like, okay, they're good enough. So then we got that through and like everything.
Like, are you kidding? Like, you're gonna make me wrestle this guy?
I swear to God, when I say they made me wrestle him, dude, this dude was sweaty. It was like, cause I mean, you know how it is over there. We're very privileged in the United States compared to over there. And San Marino is, people think it's like super rich. It's a decently wealthy country, but like right now, dude, I feel so bad. They're going through hell. They had to close like 12 banks. It's just really bad over there.
Yeah, Italy got destroyed.
But yeah, then the whole process went through, and like obviously, like the European Games wasn't optimal. What happened, but but they paid for Worlds and everything. They paid for everything. It was nice.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. Wow.
I know. Is that US pays for everything for you, don't they?
They do, yeah.
That's what I was about to say. I mean, when your country's behind you, man, it just gives you another reason to win, man.
What else makes a difference too when you're an Olympic champ? You know?
Well, yeah, well, I'm not there, but hopefully one day I will be. But
it's a blessing, man. It's a blessing. UFC wrestling takes good care of their people.
Yeah. Well, I know Adam was talking about it too. Adam was like, because Adam obviously took second in the world in Greco, and he was kind of telling me, he's like, yeah, like once you like medal, man, it's like really, really hard to like honestly, like when you medal at the Worlds and like now he was at Final X in Greco, it's like he's like it's really hard to lose the spot. Like he's like he gets all that time off, and then like he's like well, he tried to make freestyle that one time. Adam
made it to the finals, right?
Yeah, you know, have you met Adam before?
Very briefly.
So Adam's the type of guy who wants to do a million things. The guy's he's a aerospace engineer. He wants to go in the NFL. Like guy, I wouldn't be surprised if he runs for president. Like he's that type of dude. So like when we were talking to him before that, I'm like, Adam, like, dude, you're like the king of Greco, man. Why are you trying to freestyle? I was like, okay, man. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
All right, JB.
Sweet, man. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
The Cave Talk.